Clarice is dumb enough to go into the basement blind with her gun drawn. Do you remember that? Oh, heck no. No, 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 no. Everybody be dead in that basement. I would be shooting, dropping magazines, shooting some more. Everybody would be dead. There wouldn't be anybody else. Step fire, step fire. Yeah, I'm the guy that boom, 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 and click, 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 drop. If you're actually doing a life situation like that, what is he going into the basement for? There's a whole FBI team, like 5 minutes, SWAT team, maybe 8 minutes out, you know. Why are we going into the basement alone? She was dumb as a box of rocks. Anyway, sorry guys, I know a lot of people don't know what we're talking about. We're talking about Silence of the Lambs, the only scary movie I have ever seen. And there's some people out there that wasn't scary, Kelby. I'm like, shut up, dude. That was trippy for me. I have not ever gotten that out of my mind. And I think once you know God and you don't like evil, you don't want anything to do with it. But so when somebody says that that wasn't scary, volumes about your character, volumes. Anyway, hello everyone. This is a magical week for us. I'm going to be answering questions towards um everything. First, David, let me dump your question out because I know you've been trying to nail it out. As state citizens, we desperately need a letter for a personal bank account, corrected the record for the initial application. David, why do you have a personal bank account? That was my evil eye. I don't know why. Anyway, I don't have one. You stress how important it is many times in the past. You know, I don't know why these guys in the back office don't know what I'm talking about. I'll nail it out. If I don't get it nailed out for you this week, I'll get it nailed out for you next week. Personally, it's a letter that we already have. We've given it out to a ton of people. Why they can't figure this out for you? There's a clash of understandings behind the back office and Mr. David. Anyway, it's all good. We'll get it dialed in. Give me till like Monday or Tuesday, and I'll make available the time. I promise. I promise. Don't think I'm lying to you because I don't lie. Sometimes I stretch my time and like more warp it, morph it, warp it a little bit, but I don't lie. But trying to make things work in my schedule, that might look like a little bit of an exaggeration. Anyway, just want to make sure this, I'll be forming an LLC underneath the foundation for payroll purposes. Correct. I can pay my employees through the foundation account. Correct. Also, what does that do for tax implications? Do I just have an accountant huddle? So if it were me, what I would do on an LLC is I would pay everything through the LLC. For the employees that don't want to get paid through the LLC, I'd contract with them directly to be paid through the foundation. And I just work that through the foundation. Also, what does it do for tax implications? Well, the LLC has a tax implication no matter what. You're going to have to file a return and figure that out. Anything that you're giving towards the foundation is a deduction or a donation. Do I just have an account and handle the payroll and deduct all the taxes that were supposed to come out via payroll? Yes, if you're doing payroll through the LLC, because you can't get around whatever is required for a corporation. No need to file a tax return on the LLC at the end of the year. If the LLC, so this is one of the things you need to talk to your accountant about. If the foundation, this is what people, an enrolled agent, which is ex-IRS, have told me regarding a disregarded entity. If the foundation is the primary sole member of an LLC, the LLC becomes a disregarded entity, and then hence, yes, you would not have to file a return. You may want to discuss that with your CPA or accountant after they've reviewed the disregarded entity as it relates to the primary member being a functional private foundation. Okay, great. Next question. Do I fill this out? What's this? And send it back, or what regarding tax exempt on the house? And if so, do I do the same for all the other properties? Okay. So every county has a different requirement to become tax exempt. And there's tricks and there's layers of tricks. So if you got your deeds through us, um, we support you in the fact that we will help you. Obviously, you're a VIP member, but we support you in the fact that, and we help you in the area of understanding. There's no, please know this. It's six different ways to accomplish the same thing in this thing, in this way. Two specific ones, but yeah, you can slice this 100 different ways. This pie is big. Every pie is different, the color and taste, and I mean by the county recorder being the pie, they have a different set of rules. Some of them have you fill out a tricky form that tries to get you to register. Some of them make the form so that if you don't meet any of the criterias on the form, that you're acknowledging in advance that you are not tax exempt and you're agreeing to that. They're you got to look at all their forms as if they're there for the purposes of tricking you. And that's a factual statement. I'm not embellishing on an opinion about any governmental franchise. It's just a fact. So it's no different than the DS-11 form. This book specifically talks about state citizenship. Where is that application on the DS-11 for a passport? Where is state citizen as one of the elections on the DS-11 form for the passport? This is why they have added right there in the oath of office that if you're making any changes to this document or adding anything, or if you don't agree to something, you got to fill out an explanatory statement and attach it to the DS-11. So regarding your tax, people are they think that just because you put a home in the name of a private foundation, the foundation is tax exempt by nature. If you put your home in a 501c3, which is an IRS approved corporation for nonprofit, even then your home isn't automatically considered tax exempt. You would have to fill out some paperwork or form. So we just suggest to people fill it out, run it by us first, and we'll tell you what we think and tell you what to do as much as possible, and with whatever information that we have on that county recorder to help guide you. And yes, people have become successful at getting their property off tax rolls with the county recorder. The county recorders fight back all the way. They don't want you to think that you are a tax exempt organization. They want you to pay taxes. Why? Because that's money, and they are La Cosa Nostra, known as the county recorder. And they want you to think that they're good, wholesome, righteous people. And they are, in fact, taking every asset of Americans and taking the recording element of them and actually registering them, putting them on 32-pound watermark banknote paper, and monetizing the crap out of your life's work, your equivalent, and you're giving it over. You're giving over a deed because you're not even signing on the deed as an acceptance of the deed. And not just that, but the deed itself is written in a form and fact that you don't own the property or land, if you will. And you're vesting yourself as a joint tenant or tenant in common. You're giving over your children, you're giving over your car, you're giving over everything. So when I say La Cosa Nostra, I say mafia, the state public franchises under the federal corporate United States are the biggest gang, deceitful, unrighteous gang in the world, knowing that people are not getting loans and allowing for the courts and non-courts through bar-carded members steal the land of people that invested in their homes and maybe couldn't make a payment for a few months instead of figuring out how to truly help people. It's always that way. So I'm saying this, that every county recorder is different. You've got to not apply. You got to utilize the forms that they have and come in with another document that outlines who you are. In fact, do not sign their form if their form is giving consent for certain things on taxation or giving consent on certain things of you giving You realizing that you agree to these terms when you don't need to agree to anything. It should just be a Q&A that you decline to answer, and then you can sign it if that's all it is and submit it. And then you can have the good fight of you becoming tax exempt because they're trying to qualify whether you hold church at your house, but they don't do that for a entity like a 501(c)(3) that owns that property where a pastor lives in that property. They don't do that. And nor should they do it for a tax exempt organization. It's just because you're tax exempt in a private foundation, you're not holding church services at your house, but that doesn't mean the organization isn't tax exempt and shouldn't be paying on property tax because it is the owner of the land. And it's the same thing with the 501. The 501 doesn't have to prove it holds church at the house. They maybe have a church service somewhere else. But those are things that we are working through one at a time, and it's not easy. You're going to end up potentially in a suit. If you need support or help, we have people that can assist. Not from a standpoint of filing a lawsuit, but giving you maybe copies of documents other people have worked with. Hopefully that helps. Ministry Association of Members, the section states this means that our association activities are restricted to private domain only. Does that mean everything that I do after I get my state citizenship can only be Republic related? No. What I mean is this: am I only allowed to work or do anything outside of the Republic? You are allowed to work in and out, like my current job, where or what I do for fun outside of the house or country, and the services events I plan to do outside of the Republic. Um, you're talking about your foundation documents, I believe. And what we're meaning by that is the foundation, and it does operate in the private, and the members are utilizing the private domain, which means they only have to agree with one another on what they do. Meaning, I don't want to wear a mask. I don't want the other members to wear a mask because it makes me feel uncomfortable. I want to be able to hold a church service of any kind here at this location, and all the other members agree. So therefore, they can do whatever they want in their private domain capacity. But that has nothing to do with you personally or what you're able to do in your private capacity. So you can go and do whatever you want personally, and or it's not going to limit you is the point. So I hope I'm right, Benjamin. Let me know from a standpoint of what where you got that information, and if I'm not, do me a favor, repost the question under the Q&A here. Um, Oh, that's a good one. Clay, Kelly, a few days ago, I received from CHP 3 letters demanding I register my 2 automobiles and 1 truck in California. They're currently registered in South Dakota in the foundation name. We are LPP members. What do you happen to do? Forwarding the letters instruction. So, Clay, the reality is they are making a presumption that you are in fact a United States citizen and a resident of California, and they're using those terms in those letters very specifically and for a reason. Um, if are you still living in the private member? Are you still VIP? Because if you are, we can probably easily help you with a response to that they can't deny, can't overcome, and so forth. So being a state citizen is one thing. Them being able to prove residence is what they would try to do after the fact. So this is why you want to be a LPP member living in a private member, because you're not receiving personal mail. You don't have anything owned by you. It sounds like you don't. And so kind of validate that for me in my mind. If you've completed, like, you don't get mail anymore, you don't have any reasons for any of them making an assumption that you're a resident holding an office of the artificial person, receiving mail in the person's name, owning things in the person's name, having a personal bank account, which is why, David, you don't want a personal bank account. And so those are things to consider for yourself at a minimum, but we pretty easily can help you with the letter. Cool. Yeah, get done with that active state. That active state is the enforcement that you would need on a letter like that. You'd send it and they'd walk away. They can't force somebody to register in their state. They can't. There's no way. They want you to, they want your business. They can't force you to do business with them, period. They can only have control over things that they own, and they can only make an invite. What are they going to do? Tow your vehicle? Oh, wow. Talk about a suit. They're running the name on the vehicle right now to find out they don't have any jurisdiction over a foundation. Okay, that's what they're doing. So that letter is hoping you cave and you fall away. So we're going to write a response, and the response can be somewhere in the neighborhood of what's your definition of resident? We're going to have to look at their letter, obviously, and please help us to understand where you have the jurisdiction over a vehicle owned by a private unincorporated foundation. Explain that one to me. They don't. Um, in reference to my speeding ticket below, I paid the ticket, and then I discovered that I was going to have some points against me, of course, and reported to insurance unless I attend the course. Yeah, you got to go to the course. That's part of the thing. You hold the license, you go to the course, they waive the points on your license. Although the officer told me points would not be involved, how do I handle this, being that I'm in the private? Well, you're using a public side driver's license to help yourself instead of standing there in the private, which a lot of times is much better. But if you are going to have to go to traffic school, or you're going to have to fight. And that's the benefit of not getting hassled by the La Cosa Nostra on the side of the road who wants to commercially ticket people for something honestly that they don't really need. But there's that loose issue. What do you do with people that get 25 502s? You know what I mean? It's like, how do you deal with people that don't respect other people or their property? And so I understand why they have created the systems that they have, but what I don't understand is why they try to drive us into the ground with the fees and the schedule of fees on top of those systems. So FYI. But if it were me, I'd just go to it's a nice break from your husband. It's, you don't have to hang out. You can be on your phone, just looking up to the front, do that occasional nod, and then you're past the class in about a half a day and you're gone. Um, I will go to the class. LOL. I think it's offered online. Yeah, you can do it online, and they make sure it's you and all that stuff. But yeah, no, you can do it. But you can actually create a video of you sitting there at your desk and just press play and go. That would be actually hilarious. Put it on a screen right in front of the camera screen. That'd be hilarious. Um, yeah, that's one of the things until we can get the La Cosa Nostra on the from pulling people over and trying to take their money from them. This is what we got to do. It's a game that we got to play. Because you're still holding the artificial person's ability to have that driver's license in your wallet. And if you've read the doc, so you understand what that means, but a lot of people don't. Next question, Alex. Thank you for all this. I've been learning this as fast as I can, but it's not easy. Ha ha. Forgive me as I seem to get twisted around here. Alex, just send me the dang questions. If I pen to paper non-assumption and therefore am not contracting with the bank to open an account, does that mean they can claim the funds that are not mine? No, they're yours. Again, this level of learning goes around in circles, and I forget as I pick up something else. Let me explain something to you regarding bank accounts. Whether you are a person or a corporation, when you deposit money to a bank, you've agreed on the signature agreement that when the bank, and all you got to do is read the little fat pages of disclosures and maybe when and if the bank becomes insolvent, bankrupt, your money gets converted to stock equivalent and you become a party to the bankruptcy. Um, Also, you need to know that when you're taking cash and you put it in a bank, you're putting it into an account for credit. And so you no longer have cash. So get that out of your mind. Like you've got something when you give it to a bank. You don't. Just like you don't have something when you give it to a county recorder. You don't. So that's why I call them the La Cosa Nostras because they've created these systems and structures to benefit only them. None of it benefits us. So I don't leave money in banks. I try to leave very much minimum to get bills paid, to get whatever. I have been telling people for 5 or 6 years, cash out of your retirements ASAP. Doesn't matter whether you feel like you're going to have 20% per annum per year of a rate of return on your retirement accounts. That does not matter. It's not in fact the case. Let's say you were. Well, in the last year and a half to 2 years, the dollar has declined by at least 20 to 25%, at least. And anybody that says, oh no, that's bull crap, it's not bull crap because all you got to do is vest it against how gold has gone up. Gold is gold. You can't make more value out of something. It's the dollar equivalent to the element that can never change. The element of gold can never change. Its value is constant. It is only going to go up or down based on the dollar going up or down. So if gold has doubled in the last year and a half, that means the dollar has gone down by 50% minimum, all the way to 100%, depending on who you talk to, which would make it useless. But the bottom line, if gold was at 2000 and the dollar was a dollar and gold gets to 4000, you're talking about the dollar now taking a 50% hit all the way across the board. Think about that for a sec. Theoretically, if the representation of gold was at 2000 bucks and you added another 2000, now you're talking about the representation being 4000 for an ounce of gold. That's a 50% loss in the value of the dollar. Period. I don't care who you talk to. Some people say it's 100%, but the reality is, do you want to keep money in a retirement account? No. Do you want to keep money in a bank account? No. How do you mitigate this? Well, you got to play it out in the area of what the big investors are doing. I was talking to the VIP members this morning. What is everybody doing when it comes time when the stock market's crashed in 29? What is Berkshire Hathaway doing right now? He's 300 billion in cash. They do cash, they do gold, and they divest into options that hedge against the downward spiral. Like there's a lot of funds out there, and I'll give you an example when I'm blanking right now. Those are the three things that they do. FAZ, F-A-Z. That's a fund that hedges against the downward spiral. And if you would have done that in 2008, invested in FAS, you could have made a ripping because the stock went from like $17 all the way to 250,000 something per share. It was ridiculous. But the bottom line is because that was a crash. Well, we're entering in a crash again. So what do these guys do? They invest in things that go against the downward spiral. They have bets placed on a downward spiral. It's nothing different than what's that gentleman's name that bet against the crash of the '08 marketplace, where he went to the companies that had all these investments and said, I want an insurance policy. I'm willing to pay you for it against the crash of these securities. And they said, sure. So he got a bunch of them and he made all the insurance premium payments, and they held it out, held it out, held it out, and ended up making his investors like 300 times their investment by doing some of the best forecasting of what the market was going to do. Bottom line, and it's a great movie, The Big Short. I would say to everybody, go watch it. Takes a set of brass, you know what, to go through that. Just like it does to hang on to your XRP for what people are going to go through in the next few months. I just bet $1,000 on what XRP's value would be in 3 or 4 months. And I'm pretty confident on what I believe it's going to be. The bottom line is I think we all should be confident on the markets and where they're going to move. It's a matter of when. And I have no doubt about XRP's ability to do amazing 10,000 a coin. I have no doubt about that. And it's just a numbers game. People want you to think that it'll never get to that point. I guarantee, and I was explaining to people before, um, and I did this morning in on the VIP meeting, explaining to people what happens in the marketplace and why people like, Berkshire Hathaway are going into cash rich positions and buying gold and then hedging against the downward spiral. If they don't, they lose all their positions. As a matter of fact, Berkshire Hathaway, he wrote a note to his people. He can't find a single good investment opportunity. Put it in writing and sent it to him. Um, that's crazy. And this is a guy who was heavily against crypto, and now they're all a part of the crypto game because they all get it. And now the crypto is regulated, or going to be regulated by, I think, by the end of December. Um, I think that we are going to be in a major difference and position being a crypto holder in these ISO coins and the like. I think if you have Bitcoin, you're going to make some money and then you're going to lose it all. I explained it in today why I believe that. Um, and I'm very, very sure of that. And the reason is because, I'll be quick with this. Trump came out hardcore with XRP in the beginning. Within a day or two, they shut him up. They said, you can't pump XRP. We don't have enough of it. Banks are running, the exchanges are running low on XRP. Okay. They're not just issuing XRP from the escrow accounts. There's a purpose for the escrow accounts with Ripple. So the amount of XRP on exchanges is predicated on buying and selling of both retail and wholesale, meaning banks. Banks are not allowed to buy XRP directly from Ripple anymore. That's one of Judge Torres's responses in the case, and that became finalized. And now banks have to buy XRP, and I'm sure they're figuring this out how to buy it on the back end, but it doesn't change when they're buying on a secondary ledger. It's not going to affect the bottom line pricing of the exchange. What is going to affect the bottom line pricing of exchange is November 22nd was the keys to the Ferrari were turned on. The Ferrari is the engine that rules the world for the monetary system change. And the monetary system change is being globally accepted that XRP is the leader. There are other potential competitions out there, very minimal comparative to what XRP has been able to accomplish with the contracts that it has and the things that it's putting forward. So just be ready. I was willing to make $1,000 bet against XRP becoming $1,000 or higher in value. I hope I'm right. By the end of March, first quarter of next year. I think I'm right. If I get to $100, $50, gladly pay $1,000 for the loss. The point is long term, if you know and you've done the numbers, you know what I'm saying is right. Collectively, much smarter people than this guy here have gotten together and collectively created reports that they believe XRP at a minimum is 10 to 20,000 all the way up to a half a million per coin within the 5 to 10 year range. Okay. Companies that do evaluations, companies that do nothing but investigate this stuff, companies that have seen what I've seen and think the same thing that I do. There's very little in variable that will say to the contrary. There is no secondary XRP held by banks that doesn't change the value of what we do. If banks are moving money from one country to another, it's going to be on the back of XRP. They got to hold the XRP of the equivalent value so they can guarantee the transaction on both sides. It's kind of like the SWIFT system with the Nostra accounts of the 37 trillion tied up by SWIFT so that banks can transfer money across the world, and Swift knows that there's a guarantee of those payments on both sides. It's no different, but XRP is doing the same thing and a whole lot cheaper. And, all these news reports that, oh no, Swift took on this new system by da 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 company, and I don't even want to mention it. They're all smoke and mirrors. They need you to have no faith in XRP. There's guys coming out on videos dumping their full XRP bag. Sick of it. I'm sick of it. They're dumping it and they're making a show, and there's obvious AI videos doing the same thing, and they're making this big thing. You know, when you start seeing all those videos and you see the government, Trump, we all know he's got a big fat mouth, okay? And you see him promoting the crap out of XRP. And then Brad Garlinghouse visited him several times. Well, all you got to do is look at the bills that are being signed, the bills that are about to be signed, and when you start to understand what they brought forward, scary. They brought forward something into past legislation, executive signed it, done, that looks a lot like what was done by Eisenhower when they confiscated the gold. So people were in a depression, 1929. For 4 years, the country was at its lowest. People in the country didn't feel it. It was only people in the city. People in the city had a hard life, quote unquote. Selling off everything wasn't the ability to make a lot of money. Well, they wanted to get the gold. They said all U.S. citizens must sell your gold. There became the legislation that came forward about gold confiscation, and they said it was illegal to own more than 4 ounces of gold. If you were to go back in time and look, you will see that there wasn't prosecutions done because they couldn't have done them. And it's kind of like the same thing that they tried doing with the mass and tried doing with the mandatory sidearm injections. They said it was mandatory as law. If you work for a company over 100 employees, this, that, and the other, you needed to go do this. Well, there's nothing in the public registry that says you need to. That's the law of the people. For you guys, I really want you to know that they didn't do any enforcement back then in the day. They just people gave up tons of gold to the government, and then what happened? The government revalued the gold. The legislation that was passed under that administration and the legislation that was passed recently, they look a lot alike. The words that you think are promoting crypto can also be used in the same context of confiscating illegally gotten crypto or crypto they don't deem to be legal. Okay? So people, you got to get your crypto on cold storage, not on some hot wallet, not on some exchange. Ellie Pal's hot wallet, get it off there if you know what I'm talking about. Get it onto a cold storage, go to wallet scrutiny, pick your wallet out, 10 out of 10. That's the only wallet you should accept. And get your XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR, all your stuff, Solana, get it all put onto your cold storage device. Um, by 2027, I am making I don't want to say a prediction. I've been talking about it with you guys for about 2 years, but I think that's the year to which you're going to see forced, um, they're going to say it's illegal to own XRP. Well, if you are a United States citizen and you own XRP, that is debatable, whether it is illegal or not. But they can pass anything they want for their employees. But I still debate whether it's legal or not. Number one, if you've gone through his advocates living in the private, you are not obliged whatsoever. Number two, if it's been done properly, where you affect into the foundation and where you take you get your donation letters from our back office and you donate your hard wallet and your crypto to the foundation and you open up your foundation through his advocates, you don't own any crypto. So you're double indemnified. You're double indemnified by the state citizenship and by the fact that you don't own any crypto. But I'm going to tell you right now, the playbook is always the same. They're going to Make the posture that it's illegal to own XRP. That's just, it's that freaking valuable. It's that valuable. It's that crazy. It's the digital equivalent of gold. And they already confiscated all the gold. I know you got a little gold around your neck, got some gold in your pocket, you got some gold in your safe. That's not what I mean. Since the 30s, they have confiscated legally, lawfully, all the mineral rights in this world and changed the deeds from you owning the deed to you being a tenant and not having mineral rights in the ground and owning air. Legal description is air. The point I'm trying to make is the new digital gold equivalent can only be controlled if you have it on an exchange and you have that exchange account listed as a United States citizen. So those are your considerations. And I know this is a super long-winded, expanded out answer, but I just don't keep money in a bank. And I know with what's coming, I want to get money out. I just had another question today. I've already said it 1,000 times. Get your money out of your retirement accounts right now. Get your money out. If you can't get it out of retirement account, because I'm going to take a 20% hit, Kelby. Who cares? Who cares? The amount of money that you can make in a crypto opportunity or in gold or silver right now is going to by far outweigh a loss that you're going to take, period. So don't at all worry about that. Um, so Jack says, I've seen the following message from Jake Claver and other bigwigs. What do you think? Exchanges, banks, 401k, ledger, and other cold wallets are not safe to hold your crypto assets. Ledger, exchanges, banks. I don't know what other cold wallets he's talking about, but the purpose on ledgers, people are doing what's happening is people are using computers, and this is why I always say do not use a computer that you operate on the internet with ever on a daily basis. And when you come up onto something, you're not checking email on your crypto computer. You're not browsing the internet on your crypto computer. What have we always told people? You'll get a Trojan. It'll write something and says, the next time you connect to your device, it's going to tell you you need to do new firmware update. And it's going to say, do you have your 20 words ready? And this is what's happening is people aren't putting their 20 words and getting scammed thinking it's Ledger requesting an update. It's Trojan virus presenting itself like Ledger when you connect your crypto wallet to the computer. This is why you are paying for the VIP membership so that you can hear these types of things and why you want to set yourself up properly so that you're not going, oh, here I'm on my phone or here I'm on my computer and you're always on that computer and it's got viruses sitting in the background waiting for you to make a mistake. And that's really what the ledger's about. Um, Make sure they are stored in a safe Web3 blockchain for maximum security. I can sneeze and say bullcrap. There is some reasonable level of security, but Jake is not one guy that's considering that from the standpoint. If you look at the amount of money that he has insured and the amount of money he has for his clients, he has. At the time that I visited his office a month ago, and this is with all due respect, I don't have his following. I don't have his social media. Um, but I don't have his lawsuit either that he settled. This is not to put him down. I think what he has done is amazing. He's the first in time, first in line at what he's doing. But we all should be considering the fact that it's so brand new that if you got somebody that's got 100 million in insurance and 900 million under management, that's a problem. Okay, so I don't know all of his systems. I don't know all of his stuff. I do know what his fees are. I got to meet him, and there's a lot of flexibility to work with the guy. I personally won't do it, period. And I'm saying that not because I think he's a bad guy. It's too new. There's too many. Look at all the stuff that we've learned in the last year. Look at all the scams that we've learned in the last year. What is the number one priority? To get your money out of your hands and put it on something so that somebody else can manage your money. Well, for what? A rate of return? How about having no crypto because somebody steals from Jake or Bank X or that? that company is a part of the United States Corp, and they just need to take the assets of that company because there's some executive order. We're at war. We need all the assets brought home. If you don't have it on a hard wall and you got to invest with Jake and or some other company and you're making a rate of return, okay, okay, but you got to remember something. At any moment, they can come and seize assets all day long under executive orders all day long. And if the United States is in bankruptcy, which we know it is, and we're getting to that point in the next couple of years where confiscation is going to take place, I don't want my XRP. I don't think I'm going to be making moves on XRP from a standpoint of having somebody else hold it to give me a rate of return. I think I'm probably going to end up selling a good chunk when it gets to certain levels, and then hopefully find a situation down the road post 2030 that allows for me to make a rate of return. I think there's a lot, by the way, Jake, super nice guy. I flew out to Texas, got to meet him. I just, it's not because of him directly. He did have a lawsuit that he settled out. I don't understand. I know that people get sued all the time. I've been sued in the past for faxing people 25 years ago, and it's a nasty thing to go through, a lawsuit. Typically, when you settle out a lawsuit, there's some admittance of guilt there, and it's also you got to look at the fact that it's going to cost you 100 grand to defend at a minimum. So Jake went through that, so I've got to mitigate. I got to at least tell my members that. I flew out, went face to face with the guy, super neat guy. Let him explain the lawsuit to you, but when it comes to the bigger app plays right now, they are trying to get XRP out of everybody's hands. And you're watching the 19.3 billion get stolen a month ago, shorting everybody out, locking everybody out of their accounts, only letting the whales move the money. They sold off huge, dramatic. The market slammed, went down to 70 cents on one or two exchanges, and all the little people were not able to sell and remove their holdings. And then it instantly went back up, and they bought it all back up at the lower rates, blowing everybody out in short positions. And people lost $19.3 billion. Now that's a lot of retail. That's a lot of retail money. And you just watched it again this last week. They keep doing it. They're going to keep doing it. We're not in the buy and sell game. We're in the buy and hold game. And you want to get it onto devices that you know are safe and secure, and you're not going to want to play around on these hard wallets that are tied to your computer where, quantum computing is developing Trojans that are going to go nationwide overnight and figure out ways to steal massive amounts of wealth from people, even people that have things on devices because they didn't protect themselves and they think they're talking to Ledger or Decent or whatever, and they are stupid enough to do certain things, give their words over the computer, over the phone, whatever, and they're losing their butts. And so, I had somebody come to my house and show me that balding gentleman who lost 1.3 million in XRP a few weeks back on EliPal, and people don't understand it was a combination of EliPal and their hot and cold wallets and the misunderstanding of him and what that looks like on his local device. And he had his money on the equivalent of what would be an exchange, where it was easily able to be seen and where his keys were left as a party to, and they were able to grab the keys and steal the money and then mix it up and send it out to thousands of wallets and make it hard to find. Um, Look, crypto is scary. Crypto is scary. If there's so many people that are on this ride that you have to do the safest and most secure things for you. I have dates in mind and time which are correlating with value of crypto that I'm okay with accepting the loss of missing, fear of missing out of what it could be in the future. I'm willing to accept and sell and move on. I'm just not willing to leave money on a hard wallet. I'm not willing to put money on a wallet that I connect to a computer that I use on a regular basis. I'm not willing to have that wallet information on my phone. I'm not willing to um, follow a pattern of stupidity when the screen says something that I feel uncomfortable with. Just because you're going through an update, it doesn't mean you need to give your words out or, I just got a text 1 hour ago, 1 hour ago, and I'm looking forward to read it to you. Something in the nature of, hi, this is XYZ from XYZ. We noticed that you had a password request from da 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 da. If this was not you, please call us at this number. And people will call freaking out and they'll give everything over the phone to a professional sounding person in a foreign country and they will lose all their crypto. I've watched scam after scam. I've watched the scam busters. Look, guys, they would not build these cold storage devices for the super elite because that's really what it's about. They had to create a system that all of those bankers can trust. That's quite literally what it is. There's all these banking families at the very top, and then they got a committee of 300, and then they got an enforcement arm of 10,000. And those 10,000 guys control everything in the world. That's my understanding. I've not seen that on paper. I've seen many videos that explain that. I don't know if it's right, but it sure sounds like it could be right. When you get your mind wrapped around those 8,000 murderers, rapists, enforcers, whatever you want to call them, rich, rich, rich men, doing the bidding of the 300, those guys are in the know to things based on who their bosses are. The bosses have, and this is why I'm like working on or with wallet scrutiny. Wallet scrutiny looks at these hard wallets because they're an open source. If something's closed source like Decent, that means Decent, great wallet from a feature standpoint, easy to use, is rated an 8 out of 10 is because Decent knows your 20 words and they're not open source. So we can't look at the wallet to make a determination if they can backdoor the wallet with your 20 words and restore the wallet over in Korea, using an algorithm and an executable file that just takes everybody's code or everybody's 20 keywords and reinstitutes it for their wealth overnight. So you got to understand for yourself that if you're looking at the open source of a wallet, it's because you're able to see the code driven behind the code on the wallet. You're also able to make a determination of how to hack the wallet. You're also able to make a determination of whether the company, the creator, or any hacker has the ability to hack the wallet because you are a professional hacker on that website. But many hackers are coming in and they're grading the open source nature of these hard wallets. Nevertheless, many of these hard wallets have a 10 out of 10 in security. And the reason why I'm saying this is because these guys had to develop a legal playing ground for how banks are going to move money, ISO 20022 compliancy. And they had to develop institutional grade security wallets because they're shutting down all the banks in the world. And everybody's going to be banking through an app or on their phone or, meaning very few banks are going to be walking into and doing banking in the future, a lot fewer than you are today. And cash will be gone inside of a year and a half to 2 years max. And then they're gonna do the same playbook that they did with gold with XRP. So they're going to downplay XRP, but I don't think they can downplay it for that long because of how many people are coming online and have a need for millions and millions and millions of XRP to put into their portfolio so that they can run their like First Franklin Templeton. Did I say that right? Just got their spot ETF for XRP going live on Monday. Um, is Vanguard the second one? Yeah, they went live on Monday too, and everybody thought everything's going to go up. No, it went down, and that's the playbooks of the banks utilizing these moves. And if you take a look at the move, every time it goes down super fast, and then boom, they buy it up like almost instantly. So you're going to see these huge spikes, largely like they did about a month ago when they stole the 19.3 billion. The point I'm trying to make, guys, is we're 2 months to 3 months max from a position to where there's not going to be XRP. And either Ripple is going to break the law, which they do not, because if they show that they go outside of the scope of structure of doing business to in accordance to the world order's requirements, if they go outside of that order at all, they're done. Their position of leadership in this movement is gone, and they will make sure of that. But Ripple's already assigned to every bank, already dealing with Swift, already dealing with MasterCard, already dealing, but they also bought up all the ability to run all the different exchanges, the stock markets, um, all the global money liquidity. They are the company. And so I can't see beyond 3 months of them going completely dry of XRP and XRP going through the roof. I just can't see it. I hope I'm right, obviously, for you, for me, but I just don't see it staying $2, is my point. And for all the people that are bitching about it, I have seen this company go through a nightmare compared to every other company that's out there by design. Why? Because there's only one company now that has a currency acknowledged as a currency by the Securities and Exchange Commission. There's only one company in the world, and that's Ripple. And Ripple is about to rip. I like that. Ripple is about to rip. Anyway, let me get back to some questions so I can get on and eat some turkey. We're going to have some turkey this week. Um, I get a new point of contact from you guys. Yeah, call C Paul SPY. Call Matt at extension 706. There you go. He'll help you out. All right. Um, Alex, I have completed the process and filed. What process? LPP? Still file every year, I guess, because I work. Oh, IRS. I completed the LPP process in 2024, so that's why I'm asking if there's any rebuttal paperwork for this letter they sent, the corp name. Kelby still says we need to file if the corp name has a job, and my W-4 was okay. So if you have a new W-4 where you are exempt on the W-4 or W-4T or W-8BEN, Jason, it's a little complex, only in that you should file, but show yourself as exempt and ask them if they know anything to the contrary, being that you are, in fact, a state citizen operating the office of the person for. We have a letter for that. But the bottom line is you as a state citizen do not have an obligation to file a return. But if you have a W-4 that hasn't been changed, you have a W-4 that shows that, or a W-2 from the company, you're going to need to do something about that. So the company needs to show that you were in fact exempt and you didn't pay taxes, and therefore you don't have to file a return. But if they're showing a W-2, you have an obligation of being the fiduciary, whether you're beneficial interest, meaning the registered organization, the all caps name. Before you were trustee, now you're the beneficial interest. So You still need to operate it, control it, make sure it's being ran right. And what I mean by that is if you've got a W-2 on it that shows income, there's a letter we can do for you on that'll help. And or just file the return. I don't personally file a return, and I don't personally write a check for taxation. But if you're getting a W-2, you didn't do the W-4 right. You know what I mean? Because they're showing a taxable element that you received. So the question I would ask you is, do you have a W-2 and why? So the W-4 would have to have been done wrong or something. So let's investigate that, Jason. Next question. I'm committed to the process, but on page 10 and 15 of the agreement, says I know and willfully understand the scope, the nature, the extent of the risks involved in the private education program. Okay. I don't feel I fully know or understand the scope, nature, and extent of the risk involved. Can you help me with this? I do know that there are risks, but not fully. Okay. Since we've been doing this, we've helped a lot of people. Right now, I'm going to guess we have over 700 people in the LPP process. We've probably in the passport element of helping people for free and helping people paid 30 plus thousand, I'm guessing, for the passport process. I have not seen a person have an issue with becoming a state citizen. When you understand what is in this book, what does it mean to be an American? What you're doing is lawful. I have seen people do lawful things and have an attorney general go after them for mail fraud, something very easy to nail somebody on, not for going through living in a private, not for being a state citizen, just other things. I've seen attorney generals that can't prove something over here. They go to a blanket wire fraud. They go to a blanket mail fraud. And that blanket is really what I'm talking about. I can't control tens of thousands of attorney generals and what they write. And so I have to do an inherent blanket at risk statement. Now, that what does that do? It covers his advocate's ability to do what we do. And it also gives you a disclosure to look into this a little bit further. But at the same time, we have not had one person have a door knock, ever be arrested for going through our process or for filing paperwork to be a state citizen. Just it doesn't happen. And so can somebody do something stupid and claim something that they shouldn't? Yeah. Can a district attorney file something against you and say that you're this sovereign citizen and you try to skirt taxes? Not really with the way that we do it, but I'm still going to make the disclaimer. Again, not one person's been affected. And with that, you just got to know that our heart is to give full disclosure to people so that they can mitigate what they're going to do and when they're going to do it. Hold on, we got it dark right now. Give me a second. Everybody take a bathroom break. I'm going to go turn on some lights for somebody and I'll be right back. All righty then. All right. Time to cut it off. Let's go. All right. Second question. I know that but now let's just stay there for a sec. I also want to warn you about the risk of you not becoming a state citizen and the risk of you not becoming a state citizen and remaining a United States citizen is far far, far greater than you becoming a state citizen. What is going to happen to the people is far, far worse than you could ever imagine. And your only protection is if you obey God and come out of her, my people. So the disclosure disclaimer that at least I give you on state citizenship, which is just for disclaimer purposes, is far, far less on a scale of 1 to 100. I would give being a U.S. citizen 100 at risk for losing your wealth, your family, your freedom, 100%. They've already made a determination that if you've taken the rDNA shot, that you are now synthetic cDNA blood, revealing your synthetic DNA is now property of the company you got the injection from. So you, by equivalent, are the patentable property of Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson and Johnson. What is greater, to be free under God, or what is greater, to be under Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson and Johnson, under the big pharma? What's greater? What's the bigger risk? So come on, come out. You're not feeling the risk right now because you're drinking your Coke and Pepsi and eating your popcorn at the movies. You're not seeing what's about to take place in the next several years. It's real. So your risk to stay is far greater than your risk to come out. I know that we are to be state citizens, and it mentions where you were born. I was born in Washington, D.C. How does that affect getting a state citizenship status? I grew up in Maryland. So, District of Columbia was created in 1871 by the corporation. What's below District of Columbia is Virginia and Maryland. And so, depending on the line to which you were born and what hospital, you would be making allegiance to that state, and you would still become a state citizen of that state. I was a state employee years ago at the University of Maryland. Does this count as a contract? Not if you're an ex-employee. I had a secret clearance about 35 years. I didn't keep it after the contract I was on. Is that a contract issue or non-issue? It's a non-issue. I know that if we get out of the SS, can we get our SS without having an SS anymore? You don't get out of the SS. We don't cancel the SS. We restructure the SS to your benefit and have the money go directly into the foundation that we create for you so you don't lose the benefit. I have an annuity. Will that be able to move into the foundation? No, but you should cash it in and put the money in the foundation, buy crypto gold, buy real assets. Not, I know crypto isn't a real asset, but the ISO coins, in my opinion, are going to be considered real assets in the near future. Take the hit, watch the video beforehand, what I was talking about. Um, Back in the day, Ripple is what drunkards would drink. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. What type of relief are you seeking? Taxation means to stop being taxed by the corporation. Correct? Yes. Status change means to be a state citizen. Correct? Yes. Allegiance change means to be under God instead of a corporation. Correct? Yes. It's actually deeper than that, but yes. Want someone to handle everything, doesn't that mean you all? Yes. How much would that cost? Well, just the cost of the living in the private. We create the docs for you. We give them to you. You have to follow the instructions. And there was a time 10 years ago when we wrote that to where people were more involved on the creation side of things. We don't do that anymore. Okay. That's it. Let me go to the Q&A here. Greg has a question regarding XRP. I've successfully purchased coins on the exchange and downloaded them to my hard wallet. Close the exchange cap, assuming the XRP thing is a thing. How do you envision those of us will be able to use the coins in the future for everyday commerce? I realize this is a work in progress, and we need to be fully studied. Craig, it's a very good and very fair question. I think we don't even understand fully the uses of XRP in the future. I think there will be everything you can consider under the sun created by, for, and through XRP through Ripple. I think they're going to create institutional custody with a rate of return. I think they're going to create a credit card or a debit card, if you will, based on those accounts. It's already there. I think You'll be able to get loans against your crypto with a rate of return that will be pulled from another account that you structurally. Let me give you an example. If you have 100,000 in XRP, it goes to $100 in value. You can take 50% and go get a loan against that at 50, 60%. So if you have $2 million for round numbers, and that's 50% of your net worth, you can go get a loan for $1 million in cash. And now you have a payment right here against that $1 million loan. Well, you're still holding the XRP. You're not letting it go, but you have now $1 million in cash, but you also have a payment. So you can reserve an amount to be paid, or you can take the other 50%, you can stake it. You can find institutional custody, institutional grade rates of return. Those are the things that, again, are scary for me. As I said in the beginning of this broadcast, BlackRock, State Street, all these major Vanguard, all these companies that are out there scare me, because if they make it illegal to own crypto, it's only going to be based on how you have the account set up with them as to whether they're going to steal your stuff or not. So, but imagine, if you will, you go take this other 2 million and you go stake it at 10%. Now you've got the amount of money that you need to make for a payment on your original million that you took on the other side of the coin. So you took a loan and you staked, and this makes the payment on the loan and then some. And then you're going to still be holding 100% of your assets, as they are going to forever grow in value. XRP to the point of numbers you probably can't even imagine. And so that's why I say it's super important to understand what we have. And the ability to use it will be in every instance. You'll be able to have different devices on your phone. You'll be able to send money from your crypto account, hard wallet, to your phone account, and you'll be able to convert that to your Apple Pay, your GPay, your whatever. By the way, Ripple is 100% behind Apple. Apple's been testing it out for a long time and using Ripple. So what we're talking about is real time. We're talking about now. It's not like potentially in the future. It's already happening. So you'll be able to take your phone and put it on the device. It'll hit it, and they'll do whatever they do in the background, and now you have a payment made. And so it is what it is. We're going to figure out all the different applications and all the different use cases in the coming several years, but there's too many to even discuss right now. But Ripple's on the forefront of all of it, meaning their ability to be an equity bridge for banks is 100%, meaning the amount of money that Ripple's maintaining in escrow makes them, when they become a bank, the most powerful bank in the world. So when Ripple does, like how they're going to work with the United States, it's going to be very interesting to me. Are they going to be a custody holder for the United States and give the United States the Ripple, the donation of the Ripple, or are they going to give like they did in the past, a gold-backed certificate, giving the United States the ability to make an instant revaluation and get the United States out of debt? There's so many different ways that it can play out, but Ripple is going to be the largest financial institution in the world at one time. The way that they've structured this up and who has structured this up is for very much a design purpose for the world order. So just know that is what Ripple is promoting, pushing, and behind, and we can use it all for the glory of God. And we're also going to be as wise as we can, as smart as we can, with how we approach it. But every single element of being able to loan money, move the money for the stock exchanges, move money for MasterCard and Visa, move money for Swift, is already done in that play, and they're just keeping it all on the down low, purposely, and super important. But the keys were turned on to the Ferrari on November 22nd. Now for the next several months, they're just beefing this up, getting everybody online and getting people used to the new rails. And once people are used to the new rails, they're going to get excited about the low cost of these rails. And they're going to get excited about putting that 37 trillion back in their pockets instead of in these Nostra accounts. and they're going to get excited about moving money from any company to any company real time in milliseconds. They're going to get excited, and all these things are kicking on right now. So it's just a matter of time. Is there such thing as a driver's license in the private? No. But what we are going to do is um, create a set of docs for your review as a VIP member or living in the private member if you do want to get rid of your driver's license on all the case laws that support your ability to drive without a license and some enforcement stuff that you can use for law enforcement if that's the way that you want to go. We do not currently recommend that, but we're going to send out a package to our VIP members at no cost so that you guys can start reviewing these cases for yourself and making yourself intelligent, and so that you can see what options there are for you if you do want to get rid of that driver's license because it's lawful. We are renewing our auto insurance for two vehicles. Our foundation is the name on the titles, and it states no secured interest on record. Is that correct? I don't know. You got to show me that. I don't know what you're talking about. Our auto insurance policy has a foundation listed as additional interest. Yeah, that's fine. And me and my hubby listening as the title holders and assigned driver. Well, you're not the title holders, but if it's listed as additional interest, even if they were to write you the check, it doesn't matter. You're going to endorse the check and endorse it over to the foundation if there was an issue on that policy. So you're fine. Let me know if that makes sense to you. Situation, I'm an all cash buyer of a 2021 new build townhouse in Texas. Um, my mission is to have a perfect paperwork and cash buy as soon as possible with due diligence of paperwork and inspection. Concern number one, since Kelby, it's a townhouse on a platted land. Kelby mentioned to me specifically needing land surveyor. It's not going to work for a townhouse. You can't, with a townhouse, the association owns the land, you own the house. You can do some perfections on the deed. You can put the foundation as the owner. You can do some tax exemption things, but the reality is under those types of environments, the association generally is the one that owns the land. I don't know if that's true for you, but that's generally. How do I confirm with the title company that I absolutely can record my title insurance policy in the name of the private foundation? How do I confirm with them? Just tell them you're the lender, you're the cash lender. You're buying the property outright yourself. So you make instructions to title, and title will give you a deed that they're going to record in the name of the foundation. You're going to have to do an acceptance and give them a copy of the deed that you wish to utilize. You're not going to be able to use meets and bounds on the deed. You're going to use the legal description that they have. But 90% of your deed will be perfected. You're just not going to own the land. Is there a way to say I want my private foundation to be used, recorded my new house title policy? Yeah, you're just going to give them a copy of the title deed or the deed that you wish to use and say, this is the way I want it to be used and I want it recorded in this name. There's no phrasing anything. You're the lender. This is your transaction. You dictate to title. They don't dictate to you. Title may say to you, I do not wish to insure this under the name of the foundation. We have plenty of case laws that would make them probably think twice about doing it, about saying that. Land surveyor, confirm deliverables. I need to request out of the land surveyor. You're not going to get a land surveyor for a townhouse. There's nothing you can do. Recent VIP meeting. I still want to be on the uploaded to his website. States those topics. Help if you can't do a land patent on a townhouse. You don't own the land. Remember that. Look at the association docs. Ask who owns the land in this transaction, because you can have a deed on something doesn't mean you hold title to the land, and that's why it's called legal description. You gave me a revised W-4. I sent the letter to you last Thursday. Government job. They would only accept the revised version. Yes, I do get a W-2. The letter in my file was with the threat, if not dealt with by the 20th of November. Okay, I'll check it out tomorrow, Jason. All right. No problem. Liz, back in the day, Ripple is what drunkards would drink. Is that literally a name of a drink? And empty pockets. Why are you deleting your text? You afraid of what I'm going to think? You're ashamed of what you wrote. That's it. You're ashamed of what you wrote. I know it. James says certificate of live birth is from Pennsylvania. They won't give me a copy. Have you had any experience with it? Just get whatever they have. Make sure it's certified. That's all you need to get a passport. The BC authentication is not. We used to make that a requirement prior to submitting the passports. We don't make it a requirement anymore. I use BC authentication for other things. So don't worry about that, James. Just get a certified copy of your birth certificate. That's what you use for a passport. You'll be fine. I'm transferring property from an LLC to the foundation on your pre-printed template. However, the template does not have all rights reserved. On your documents, you don't need to do a reservation of rights. It's only documents which you're agreeing to or documents to which you feel you need to make sure you're protecting yourself. But the bottom line, you don't need to protect yourself on something you create for yourself. You know what I mean? But you can always put it there if you want. I wouldn't put non-assumptive because then you're not contracting to the transfer of the sale. You know what I mean? You want to make sure you make that sale or donation. So don't put non-assumptive. You may put like all rights reserved. You may put without prejudice, but don't put non-assumptive. All right, that's it, guys. We are so blessed. No more questions. We are so blessed. Why? Because we have the ability to free speech. I can pray right now in the name of Jesus and pray that you have the protections in your life over you and your family. And I'm not going to have cops come and visit me today. Might be different in the future. You're being arrested for that in the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom. They always show you what they're going to do there before it comes here. They are moving to a digital world. We are blessed. Look, stop. Don't forget what I'm about to say. Anxiety is the same frequency as gratitude. So the more gratitude you have, the less anxiety you're going to feel. Wake up thanking God for your legs, your body, your ability to breathe. Thank God for your food, everything. Be grateful. Count even your trials a joy. Watch how your life changes and have a happy Thanksgiving, even if you got a turd brother or a turd mother and they're always negative. Don't worry about that. Have a happy Thanksgiving. We love you here in this ministry, even you turkeys and turds and trolls. Yeah, you're loved too. I mean, I may have a different affection, like noogie kind of love for you when I meet you in person, kind of love, a little more painful kind of love, but I do. I do care for you guys. I just think that we need to be grateful for what we have. We have lost that in this nation. A lot of people just aren't really understanding how important it is. So be blessed, enjoy your time with your family, and have a happy Thanksgiving from his advocates. From the bottom of my heart, I truly mean it. And I will see you Saturday for prayer at 9 a.m. Pacific. And just hope that you guys show up and understand that we have this opportunity to hang out and have fun and still pray together publicly. What a blessing that is. Think about what's going to happen when you kind of feel like if you show up, you're going to be in trouble. What's that going to be like? You're going to remember this conversation, go, man, I should have been more grateful for the opportunity we had for freedom of speech. Should have been more grateful for that full belly I had. I remember the turkey I ate that year. Yeah, I should be more grateful because there's coming times where it could be difficult or it could be quite easy, and you could be the kingship helping the people that are having difficult times. Blessings, guys. Enjoy your week. Have a happy Thanksgiving from myself and from his advocates, and I'll see you next Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific. Enjoy. Have a great week.